The Tonight Show, starring Johnny Carson. Johnny's guest host tonight is John Denver. Now, this is Doc Severinsen, along with Tommy Newsom and the NBC Orchestra, inviting you to join John and his guests, Sara Purcell, Tony Danza, and Pam Dawber. And now, here's John Denver.
Thank you very much. He was born in the Bitterroot Valley in the early morning rain. Wild geese over the water, heading north and home again, bringing a warm wind from the south, bringing the first taste of the spring. His mother took him to her breast, softly she did sing. Oh, Montana, give this child a home. Give him a love of a good family and a woman of his own. Give him a fire in his heart. Give him a light in his eyes. Give him the wild wind for a brother and the wild Montana skies. His mother died that summer. He never learned to cry. He never knew his father, and he never did ask why. And he never knew the answers that would make an easy way. But he learned to know the wilderness and to be a man that way. His mother's brother took him into his family and his home, gave him a hand that he could lean on and a strength to call his own. And he learned to be a farmer, and he learned to love the land, and he learned to read the seasons, and he learned to make a stand. Oh, Montana, give this child a home. Give him a love of a good family, a woman of his own. Give him a fire in his heart. Give him a light in his eyes. Give him the wild wind for a brother and the wild Montana skies. On the eve of his 21st birthday, he set out on his own. He was 30 years and running when he found his way back home, riding a storm across the mountains and an aching in his heart. Said he came to turn the pages and to make a brand new start. Now he never told the story of the time that he was gone. Some say he was a lawyer, some say he was a John. But there was something in the city that he said he couldn't breathe. There was something in the country that he said he couldn't leave. Oh, Montana, give this child a home. Give him a love of a good family and a woman of his own. Give him a fire in his heart. Give him a light in his eyes. Give him the wild wind for a brother and the wild Montana skies. Some say he was crazy, some are glad he's gone. But some of us will miss him, we'll try to carry on, giving a voice to the forest, giving a voice to the dawn, giving a voice to the wilderness, the land that he lived on. Oh, Montana, give this child a home. Give him a love of a good family and a woman of his own. Give him a fire in his heart. Give him a light in his eyes. Give him the wild wind for a brother and the wild Montana skies. Oh, Montana, give this child a home. Give him a love of a good family and a woman of his own. Give him a fire in his heart. Give him a light in his eyes. Give him the wild wind for a brother and the wild Montana skies. Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to the Tonight Show. I'm sure that when this all started, you were wondering what the piano was doing here. I'm wondering right now. I don't know how to play the piano, folks. This will be very obvious to you in just a few moments. But I wrote this song on the piano, and I just can't make it work on the guitar, and I think it's one of the best songs I've ever written. I'd like to do it for you. I've never done this on television, played the piano. This should be pretty far out. I said that again, didn't I? I wonder if it's the show that brings it out of me. This is a song about two people falling apart. It's called Seasons of the Heart. Of course we have our differences. You shouldn't be surprised. It's as natural as changes in the seasons and skies. Sometimes we grow together, sometimes we drift apart. A wiser man than I might know the seasons of the heart. And I'm walking here beside you in the early evening chill. A thing we've always loved to do, I know we always will. We have so much in common, so many things we share, that I can't believe my heart when it implies that you're not there. Love is why I came here in the first place. Love is now the reason I must go. Love is all I ever hope to find here. Love is still the only dream I know. I don't know how to tell you. It's difficult to say. I never in my wildest dreams imagined it this way. Sometimes I just don't know you. There's a stranger in our home. When I'm lying right beside you is when I'm most alone. When I think my heart is broken, there's an emptiness inside. So many things I've longed for have so often been denied. Still I wouldn't try to change you. There's no one that's to blame. It's just some things that mean so much, we just don't feel the same. Love is why I came here in the first place. Love is now the reason I must go. Love is all I ever hope to find here. Love is still the only dream I know. Thank you very much. Stick around, folks. My guest is Sara Purcell. Playing there, folks. Thanks a lot. The worst piano playing I'm sure you've ever heard.
No, no,
you know,
it's delightful. It was an especially beautiful song.
Thank you.
It really was a beautiful
song. I
I was in Europe last fall on a concert tour, and the first concerts that I did were in London, England, at a place called the Apollo Theatre. It holds about 4,000 people. And the first concert that we did was filmed live for BBC television. And when I sat down at the piano, I realized that I had, in fact, never played the piano in front of anybody before. And I looked across the piano, and there was a television camera pointed right at me with that little red light that's on. A few million people on the other side of that, and out here was an audience, and I looked down at the piano, and there was this little black bug jumping back and forth on the piano. And you think I could watch my hands or the notes or think what I was singing about? Oh, Lord.
You should have just followed the little black bug.
I'd probably, if I'd have been smart, I would have done.
You're looking very casual tonight. Excuse me. I've got to get with it.
Well, there you go. It's impossible for me to sing wearing a tie. But I have a real classy bow tie.
Goes up and down.
Well, it does, and it gets tight. I just don't like things around my throat. But I did bring a tie from Colorado to wear, Fred, I promise, and I left it at the hotel, and somebody's run to get it.
If you run out, you can use mine.
That's very kind.
Okay. You know, you're dressed like a Western country gentleman tonight. And I have some friends who are cowboys that told me you've been studying some calf roping and steer wrestling and all that.
I roped my first steer.
Really?
Possibly my last. I'm going to do a movie for television called The Cowboy and the Lady. And in it I play a world champion rodeo bronc buster, saddle bronc rider. And so I've had a chance to be around a few rodeos this summer. I went down to visit, there's this, the Professional Rodeo Cowboy Association, the guys, the professional cowboys. And they have their Hall of Champions in Colorado Springs, and it's one of the most impressive things I've ever seen. I was down there meeting all these people and striking up the acquaintances that are going to help me get together with this rodeo thing. And I have done some calf roping, and I'm going to do some bronc riding, and I can hardly wait. It's going to be a pretty... And
the cowboy and the lady.
The cowboy and the lady. The lady...
What do we know about the cowboy? Who is the lady?
Well, the lady has not been chosen yet.
Well, maybe some of our ladies in the audience would like that.
She is the prima ballerina of the Bolshoi Ballet. So it's an East meets West kind of picture, and a love story, and it's a wonderful script. In fact, we made the deal to do this movie on television, you see, and then we got the script, and the script should have been a feature-length movie.
Well, maybe
well, maybe some of these days. And then I'm doing a concert, another rodeo fest will be at the Nebraska State Fair. I'm going to be there on the 10th, so I'm kind of excited about that.
You could go out in the afternoon during the rodeo and practice your bronc riding, too.
Exactly.
And then you think they'll let me do that all night.
Do you think they'll let me do that? I doubt it. Folks, we'll be right back. We have a commercial message for you. Yes, tonight, one of the stars of NBC's very, very successful and long-running show, Real People, which begins a whole new set of stories, films, all the things that they do in the show on Wednesday, September the 14th. I'm very excited to meet this lady. Please welcome Sara Purcell.
Hi.
Welcome, Sara.
Thank you.
You don't have a back.
No, there was only so much money in the budget for this, so
I see.
we could only afford the front.
What are you doing on this show this year? Now, I've seen you in some pretty interesting situations, so more of that?
They get even more interesting. I met a lady that keeps 17 crocodiles and alligators in her home and met them all.
The crocodiles?
Yes.
They all have names?
We had, yes.
Can you tell them apart like you can get to know dogs and horses?
Oh, yes. Some smile and, some wink and things like that.
How does the crocodile smile?
With a lot of teeth. Great teeth. I also did a skydive.
You did?
First skydive, yes.
Just one?
Just one. There will be only one.
I did one some time ago, and that was enough for me.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Were you scared?
I didn't think I was scared. They instruct you very well. What did they tell you to expect?
Well, we had about 6 hours of ground instruction, and they tell you all these things, that... how to pull the ripcord, and they tell you that, you're going to be like floating on a big cushion of air, I think they said. Not true. Not true at all.
Not at all.
Then they said, well, it's something like a half-deflated water bed. Not true. No possible way. You're
They
going...
teach you about landing
No, they had me jump off a desk or so, something about this high to get
and make you think that's all it is.
Yeah. And then they say, it'll feel like forever. Baloney. It doesn't feel like forever. Your whole life goes by you right then and there. All those things you did as a kid you don't want to remember. You remember those. It's amazing. Nobody can really adequately describe that. You're falling at the rate of 120 miles an hour. And even though there's no reference point of buildings going by or anything like that.
You're falling.
They tell you, you have to balance your body, keep your thumbs right about it where your ears are. And you have to kind of balance your body like that. And at one point, I let my wrist just kind of flap back a little bit, and it darn near knocked me over. It really did. So,
So were you afraid at all?
I was scared to death.
When did you get scared?
I got scared the first moment when we were standing in the door of the airplane. Before then, I really didn't get scared. But standing at the door of the airplane and looking down for the first time, 12,500 feet is real high. Real high. Higher than I ever want to be.
So
Again.
I jumped from about 3,000 feet one time that I jumped, and everything was fine. And they told you, you climb out of the wing, and then I'm going to hit you on the fanny, and you jump. And so he hit me on the fanny, and I jumped and screamed. And I can't remember ever being so scared that I screamed, but I did.
It's embarrassing how scared you get.
Yeah.
I was embarrassed at myself.
For an adult?
Yes, for an adult person. It was, nothing really happened, but I was just petrified. My brain just stopped functioning.
We have some pictures.
Yeah, you could show me. The reason I started doing this, or got the idea, this was my idea. Can you believe it? How stupid I could be? But my brother is a skydiver. My big brother, Stephen.
Okay, excuse me, I'm showing these out of order.
Out of order.
Here's number one, and this is...
That is leaving the airplane. That is the moment of truth. When the guy has a hold of you and he's pulling with all of his weight, and you can see there's one foot in the plane going, no! And my hand was just gripping onto that plane for dear life.
Second thoughts, huh?
Yeah, definite second thoughts. And then that is flying.
And here you are, coming out of it.
Now, this is the interesting part. Did they tell you anything about when the chute would open? Did they give you any kind of indication as to what that would feel like?
No, not really.
Nobody mentioned that. You're wearing this harness, see, and they've got these straps under your arms and elsewhere, and it's the elsewhere that gets you. And what happens, see, is all of a sudden you pull the ripcord. They say it's time to pull, and you pull the ripcord, and for a split second nothing happens, and then all of a sudden you're in one place. And in the next split second, you're not there anymore. And it's like you're going 120 miles an hour, and then you're pulled from under your arms and elsewhere, and about 120 miles the other way. It's
sort of
a thrill, I want to tell you.
So, did you do your climbing before or after you did your skydiving? Did you really climb the Brooklyn Bridge?
Yeah.
See, now I'm into climbing. I could get off on that. But not, you climbed the buildings?
Yeah, the Brooklyn Bridge was terrific. Also, I climbed the Brooklyn Bridge and the gargoyles on the Chrysler building at 62 stories up. Climbed all that.
Have a safety harness and everything else?
Yeah, in the same day. So that was a real interesting day. I was real tired after that one, I'll tell you. But we were doing a story on a high-risk photographer, Peter B. Kaplan. And what he does is he does photographs of Manhattan that nobody else has the guts to go get, because he takes them from all these high-risk places. Yeah. So we went there to follow him on a day's work, and so we climbed out on this gargoyle that's about 15 feet away from the building. Yeah. And that was a nice view from up there. But the Brooklyn Bridge was spectacular. Yeah. That really was, because there are these cables that go up to the top. And so we just put harnesses around our waists and, just slowly climbed up the...
It's easier for me in an airplane than it is to be on the side of something. And then if I'm on the side of something, it's easier for me to be in the mountains than to be on a building in a city. It just does not compute somehow.
To climb in a city.
Yeah.
And yet climbing in Manhattan is so spectacular because the sights are killers. I mean, it's just beautiful up there.
My favorite thing to do in New York City, and I do it every time I go there, is get a helicopter and at sunset fly around Manhattan. and it is glorious.
Yes, it is. We watched it. We did the same thing. We climbed late in the day, and we waited for the sun to set between the World Trade Centers. And the sun actually went right down the slot, right down the slot between the two buildings, and it was spectacular. And you sit there and you have this feeling, you almost feel a little bit like God. You know what it must be like to look from all the way up there, all the way down, and you know that there are all these lives in the city. You know, it's just, it really gets you.
Well, so these are the kind of things that you do on your job.
Yeah.
What do you do for vacation? What do you...
Well, actually, I had a really exciting vacation. I took 5 days off last week and went fishing in Alaska.
In Alaska?
In Alaska.
Where in Alaska? Maybe you don't want to tell.
Well, I'd love to tell, actually, but I don't know whether I can say the name of the place on the air.
If you don't know, you probably shouldn't.
Well, I do know. Well, you're right.
I mean, if you don't know if you should, you shouldn't.
Should not. Well, then maybe people will figure it out.
If you whisper it to me. Alaska, I think, is one of the most incredible places that I've ever been.
It's a gorgeous place, and we caught 250 pounds of fish.
What kind of fishing? Salmon, fly fishing?
Halibut and salmon. I'd never been fishing before in my life, and I caught an 80-pound halibut.
An 80-pound?
An 80-pound halibut. It came up to my armpit.
Were you using heavy metal, or were you fly fishing?
I don't know. Oh! There was this nice person that put this little hook on the end of this thing, and I just went
go
like
for
this,
it, huh?
and they went like that, and I brought in a fish.
Oh, that's great. Folks, we'll be right back after this message. Great band.
Before you do anything, are you busy? Are you going to do something right now?
I was introducing Pam.
Could I ask you to do, excuse me, but I just wanted to ask you if you'd do one thing for me. Well, see, I heard via the grapevine that Doris Day actually happened to mention once that you had a really nice posterior. Posterior is kind of the word we can say.
Tush.
Tush?
Yeah.
Tush. And I kind of just, because you were standing facing the camera when you were singing the songs, and when I came out, you were facing me again. I didn't get a chance. Could you please,
Give me a break. Never lied, not Doris, no.
She told the truth.
Thanks.
Cute.
I didn't know that. You know, I used to wear these long shirts and stuff. I'll cut that out, and I'll start singing more away from the audience, I guess. My next...
Thank you. I needed that.
You did?
I needed that.
Maybe I did. That could be good for my reputation. My next guest has just completed 2 movies for television, which are going to be aired this fall. With Naked Eyes is the name of one. Could have saved it for that, I suppose. And last of the Great Survivors. And all of you folks know her as the beautiful, blue-eyed, dark-haired Mindy of Mork and Mindy. Please welcome Miss Pam Dawber.
Thanks, sir. I really wanted to follow that one.
Oh, no! He's taking his foot up. He's going to bring his rear end.
Oh, Lord. How do these things happen? Well, I don't know. I'm not going to do anything. Did you always want to be in show business?
You know, it's funny. Somewhere, I think in my fantasy, I always thought that I think it's something that everybody would dream. They kind of dream about doing it. But, no, when I was a kid, I always thought I was going to be a commercial artist. And that's what I geared myself for when I was in high school, and I was going to college to do that.
Do you paint?
I did. You know, my dad's a commercial artist, and that talent sort of was throughout the family. And I think it was, I want to be like Dad, and that whole thing. We had a studio in our house. And,
so how did it get to be showbiz?
Well, it's funny. I really believe in fate, because sometimes things just happen and it changes your whole life. The lady that lived next door to my parents when I was in high school growing up was a model at she used to do the auto shows, the Detroit auto shows. And she knew that Pontiac Motors was looking for a teenage girl who could introduce the Pontiac Firebird. And she asked my mother if I wanted to audition. And so, because I had done someplace in high school. And so my mother asked me, and I was so naive at the time, I didn't realize that there was a lot of money involved. You got to travel all around the country. So I said, yeah, and I auditioned and I got the part.
And what did you do? Did you have like a thing that you said?
Yeah, you had a whole spiel. I mean, it was like Marsha Mason in The Goodbye Girl, you know, where you're standing on the turntable talking about the car for 5.5 hours. You never knew really what you were talking about, memorizing.
Did you ever lose your place, or?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, you would. So, in fact, there'd be times if you were standing on the turntable, realizing, especially if you're 17 years old, and there's 50 or 60 people around you, and you start realizing these people are listening to what I'm saying, and there'd be times when I would be in the middle of it, and then absolutely forget what I was saying, and then start to giggle or laugh, and say, oh my God, I forgot what I'm saying, I don't know what I'm saying. In the meantime, then the audience thinks that that's part of the spiel, and you realize now they think that you're talking about the car, and this is part of the act. And it was a vicious circle, because it would just go on and on.
Did that ever happen on stage?
Oh, I'm terrible on stage. And when we were doing Pirates of Penzance, the big thing would be for somebody to try to get other cast members to laugh.
Yeah. So does that happen a lot when you're doing a show night after night? I've never done a play.
Yeah, especially there were a couple of places in that show where Barry Bostwick had to look me right in the eye, and then I'd have to sing something, and I'd crack up every time. But there was one time in particular where Andy Gibb was out, and it was the first time his understudy went on, and his understudy was a guy who couldn't understand why he didn't have the part in the first place. And so this guy, the way Pirates was laid out is we had the orchestra as in a regular stage production, and then you had a little runway that was right next to the audience. And in the very dramatic moments of this love scene that I'm in, there's just the two of us on stage, he turns away from me and fell right off the stage into the audience.
Did he hurt himself?
No, but I saw these two little ladies kind of go, ah, as he fell on them. And then he had to climb back on the stage and then go on with it. And now I've got to sing. I was hysterical. And then I had to run at him and sing. And the weirdest thing is the audience thought it was part of the show.
Really?
They thought it was part of the show. There was a little group of maybe 12 people that had caught on. And then I thought he was trying to make me laugh because I was completely out of control. And I punched him in the chest and I forgot he had his microphone on, so I hit his microphone. And then he left me, and I'm there all alone on the stage to sing this love song, and I was hysterical during the entire love song. It's one of those things, it's like a nightmare. You think, I've got to get out of this, I've got to control myself.
You do, you dread it terribly, but then the audience, you know, they love it. I think they're so supportive and so with you. My worst experience was like that. It was opening night in London at this beautiful theater. I was there for a week, and I had a full orchestra with me. And my opening song, my band and I all played in A flat, and the whole orchestra, which all came in right at the downbeat, were playing in the key of A. And this first chord that hit was such a horrendous thing that you can't imagine. It was impossible to go on. And I had to stop and say, oh, and explain to the audience, you know, what had happened. And they were all right there for me. And I said, pretty soon, as they say in the recording studio, take two. And we started again, and, you know, I was mortified. But they loved it, and the show went on from there.
The audience really does like it. That's one of the things when we were doing Mork and Mindy, you could get away with it because they'd just cut. But the pressure was on when you'd walk through that door and the show was beginning, because it was done like a play in front of an audience like this, or even a little larger. Who was going to screw up first? Yeah. And once somebody did, it just broke the ice. But it wasn't live. When it's live, I'd heard during Pirates, Linda Ronstadt used to crack up all the time on stage. And there was one time during...
She giggles a lot.
She giggles constantly. And during the big aria in the beginning, it's her first song. She makes her entrance, and she was hysterical. They made her come out after intermission and apologize to the audience and sing it after intermission.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's how bad it got.
So was the audience upset, or they...
No, well, I don't know. It was just one of those things when you're it's the song, it is the song of the whole show, and if you don't do it, you really should do it sometime.
I suppose, I guess.
So...
When you got the part in Mork and Mindy, did you not know you read it in the trades?
Yeah, it was...
The trade magazines they have, do people know what trades are? The trade magazines that they have in Hollywood, they have the record business, they have in rodeos, they have... So you read it?
Yeah, it was really one of those things, once again. I had a deal with ABC. I had a development deal where they liked me. I had auditioned for some things for them earlier, and though I didn't get them, they liked me, and they wanted to put me in something. So I had a deal where they pay you some money, and then you're with them for a year, and they send you scripts. And if you like them, and if you audition, then you get it. Well, I had been sent scripts for over a year, and I didn't like any of them. I didn't want to do it. And plus, I had just done my first feature film, so I was going to be a movie star. I didn't need television.
What was your feature film?
Oh, it was A Wedding by Robert Altman.
Oh, I know that, yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, I mean, that's always every actor's dream is, hey, you want to be a movie star. You know, TV used to be the thing that it's nice to do, but if you can be a movie star, let's be a movie star. So anyway,
I wanted to be a movie star. I was in a movie once. It did pretty well, but boy, it just all disappeared after that.
That's exactly what happened to me. Yeah, I mean, it's like that, isn't it?
Just like that, boy, it comes and it goes.
Yeah,
what was it like working with Robin Williams?
Oh, it was great. It was...
Is he like that
he's like
all
that,
the time?
Well, he's calmer now. He has
now?
a baby, and, you know, he's settled down. But... not working with Robin makes me even appreciate it more, and I've always appreciated it. But there's nothing like getting up and I would love to go to work every morning because we had so many bizarre people in our show, even the people that work backstage. You laughed from the moment you got there until you went home. And also for me, because it was my first series, I didn't know what I was doing. So I really learned comedy and timing from Robin and then the other comedians that would come in.
Yeah.
And that last year with Jonathan Winters and Robin was just not to believe.
That must have, and so was it going on constantly?
Constantly going on. I mean, I can't even describe to people what it was like. You'd have one wandering off. We'd be in the middle of a scene, doing a scene. And
rehearsing or actually filming it?
Filming it, and Robin would be looking up into the audience, and Jonathan would go wander. Half the time I'd have a hold of Jonathan's coat to hold him or to lead him from one place to the other. Because they're both such geniuses, but their minds, it's real hard to, say, Robin.
And get it over here and keep it here for a minute.
That's right. We're having a conversation. Don't look at the audience. So it was great. It was just crazy.
Were you the solid one in that bunch? Did you keep it all together?
I was the mother.
The mother?
Yeah, they used to call me Sister St. Mary Patience. Because truly, it was these two very crazy, brilliant men, and putting them in the same show together was just not to be believed. We tried to get a documentary film crew in there just to film a week of putting together Mork and Mindy because there were such moments of brilliance and improvisation.
That never got seen.
No, that never got seen. So it was a wonderful experience.
I would love to have been part of that.
Yeah.
We'll return, folks, right after this. You can't believe how fast the time passes up here when you're doing this. So I want to introduce my other guest, if I may. He's probably best known as Tony Banta, the young boxer who could never win a fight on the really great comedy series Taxi. And he's just finished filming a movie with Burt Reynolds called Cannonball 2. So would you please welcome Mr. Tony Danza. I'm glad somebody else is casual, I appreciate that. So what? Made it to here, you mean?
Yeah, I'm here.
That's pretty great.
It's real great.
Congratulations. I remember the first time I was on The Tonight Show, and I remember the first time I hosted The Tonight Show, and I was so thrilled about it. And it's one of those things, truly, that you dream of. And I said, far out 29 times in an hour and a half or something like that.
Oh, well, if I say far out, stop me.
Okay, if I say it, stop me. What's it like working with Burt Reynolds?
It's just like you think it'd be,
Is it fun, easy going, light?
It's fun, easy going in life, but you're doing, your work. And
he's a professional.
Yeah, he's a professional, but he's also like a swashbuckler. He jumps off the roof, tells a joke. He goes through the car window, he tells a joke. It's like, and it's great to see Burt doing that stuff. It's like an inspiration.
Yeah. So did you do any of that stuff?
Yeah, I did. I knocked out a few guys. It was fun. I'll tell you the truth, though. I'm in the movie with Mel Tillis and a monkey and an orangutan, and
This is the Burt Reynolds movie?
Yeah, well,
Clint Eastwood.
From California. Yeah, well, it's not that monkey, but it's of that family. Cal Worthington is Mel Tillis and my uncle.
Cal Worthington?
Yeah. This is a weird movie. I'm glad it's true. Cal Worthington's dog named Spot, you see.
But maybe there's still hope for me. I can get back in there.
The funny part is I did 3 movies in my life. Right? Go ahead, give it to him. Oh boy, do I miss Paramount. Anyway,
This is your third movie?
Third movie. I did 3 movies. I did a movie called Hollywood Nights. I'm sure a lot of you saw it. Hey, all right.
Hollywood Nights?
Yeah, big. I did another movie called Going Ape with 3 orangutans in Danny DeVito, or is it 4 right now? And I did this movie, right?
Yeah.
I want you to know that 2 of the movies I'm with the same monkey. I walk on the set, the monkey knows me. Hey, Tony, how are you? I swear, it's incredible. And I want you to know, I didn't forget you, John. I brought you the Cannonball Run belt buckle, and it's signed by Hal Needham. Okay.
Excuse me.
You said it.
Thanks.
You're welcome, sir.
I collect buckle. That's great. Thanks very, very much.
I thought of you, you know.
Yeah, I
You thought of me,
appreciate
I thought of you. Hey.
Now, was this the film that Mr. Sinatra came down on?
Oh, yes. I forgot about Frank. You know what's interesting is, you die. I want to meet Sinatra so long. I'm like a frustrated Frank Sinatra. And I have a son.
I can't imagine Frank Sinatra being frustrated.
No, it's true. Johnny Carson asked him the greatest question of all time one time. He said, hey, Frank, who do you put on when you want to make out? You ever think of that? Who does he put on? Who does he put on? But anyway, Frank Sinatra is there, He's on the movie. Of course, he only comes one day. He does his stuff and he leaves. But he's there, and I showed up. I had my son with me, my 12-year-old Mark. Hello, Mark. I'm on the Tonight Show. And he was like, my son is also like a big Sinatra fan. We had just seen him the 21st when he was at the amphitheater, and he was great. I mean, the guy is really a legend. He is the chairman. And my son is like the only kid that can sing The Galley Got Away by heart at 12, This kid he's really into it. So here's Frank Sinatra on the set, So I sidle over, to make my move. He's by himself. Mr. Sinatra, I'm Tony Danza. He goes, the kid from Taxi? He blew like, whoa! Okay. Now I'm on a roll, see? He knows who I am. Okay. Now what happened? We start talking. I introduced my son, and my son is just enamored. And what he did, Sinatra did something. Do you ever see if you go to a Sinatra concert, he leads the band. He's got his back to the audience, and he leads the band. Yeah. And he's leading the band, and then he cuts them off. Anyway, he cuts them off. And the band stops, like, right on the money. Like Montegiovanni couldn't have done it better. Stops it, and he turns around. I know I did that. He turns around to the audience and he goes, eh? And it was great. Like, look what I can do. So my son, of course, has to do this for Sinatra. I want to kill the kid. So he does it for Sinatra. Sinatra, of course, I guess for Sinatra it was great. He's a 12-year-old. He's been around a while. He's a 12-year-old, and he's a fan, too. So then Sinatra, he's got Burt Reynolds, Dom DeLuise, Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis, Dean Martin, Julie, and Hal Needham. And they were all arm in arm like this, and the still photographers are going crazy after the scene. And my son gets the bright idea to run around and take a picture of Sinatra and the group, I got my 35 millimeter. Anyway, he runs around. And by the time he gets there, though, they're breaking it up. So Sinatra sees him there, and he holds everybody. Hold it, guys. Go ahead, Mark, get the picture, he says. And then he says, you got the picture, Mark? Yeah. And then he dismissed everybody, And so, so my son comes back around, and Sinatra's standing there. Sinatra sort of stands tall. I don't know how he does it. But anyways, my son comes up to his stomach, and he looks up at him, and he says, it was a joy to meet you. And he sort of bends his head, and he puts his arms around Sinatra like this. And Sinatra sort of like envelops him and says, it was a joy to meet you, too. And I'm standing there looking for a photographer, man.
I was going to be right back. You were a professional boxer?
Yeah, I had a few fights.
Did you win any?
I won 12, in fact.
Really?
All by knockout. I lost 3. I had 15 fights.
Yeah?
Yeah, I wasn't a bad fighter. I was a pretty good middleweight.
How did you get in the show business then?
They saw me fighting one night. I got knocked down twice in the first round. I was looking for the referee to stop it. Where is this guy? But I got up, and the only reason why I know about this is because I saw the film, because I really wasn't there. Walking around. But I took a terrible beating, and with like 15 seconds left, and still the same first round, I nailed the guy with the right hand, and he can't get up. And I win the fight. And there happens to be this guy from NBC there, and he gets me a screen test. Next thing I know, I'm on Taxi. They gave me money to move. I'm telling you, it's unbelievable.
You miss boxing at all?
You know what it is? There's a lot of good guys around, but you become a better boxer when you don't have to worry about surviving, I think, you know. So, yeah, I miss it a little bit. I'm still in pretty good shape. I'm 32, though, so those days are over.
Do you still have your fighter?
Yeah, I got my fighter. You know, I got a fighter. See, Pam knows.
How did you know that?
We used to be neighbors. We worked next to each other in the Paramount Lodge.
That's what I said. We miss Paramount. Mike the Duke DeLuca, the next cruiserweight champion of the world.
It's coming right at you. You have a fighter, Sarah?
I'm sorry?
Do you have a fighter?
No, I don't, actually.
Want one?
Do I need one?
I get you one, Sarah. I can get you a deal on a fight. I want to say hello to my mom, my grandmother, and everybody else in Long Island.
And then we'll be right back. Your mom and I can't believe how quickly this hour goes here. It's a real privilege to have been able to be here on this night show again. I want to thank you, Sarah, for being with me, Pam, and Tony.
Thank you.
You know, you can get a little bit nervous sometime about the kind of guests who might be available, who you can get, and our office had a chance to get a hold of the people that I would like to have, and I really appreciate very much your being my guest tonight. It's been a pleasure talking with you. I want to thank you folks, a great audience. Mr. Carson will be back here next week. Some of his guests during the week are Angie Dickinson, Terry Garr, Mariette Hartley, Maureen Murphy, baseball's Bob Ucker, and Shelley West. Doc, I thank you. It's a pleasure to work with you. Mr. D. Cordova, Fred, thank you.